Hey, Soul Warriors, does this sound familiar? You're trying to get direction from your soul, but you fill every waking minute with endless to-dos while wringing your hands in complete overwhelm, anxiety, and unfulfillment. The good news is your soul is always communicating with you. Somewhere deep within, you know what to do. Now, you could wait until life pushes you to the edge, or make listening your priority. The choice is yours. The longer, harder path, or a life filled with more blessings, less stress, and joy. Ready to say yes to your true self? Let's dive in and discover the art of hearing your soul. It's time to choose you. I find that most people seem to be living from external circumstances. I like to call it reactionary living. You're observing everything that's going on around you, what everybody else is doing, and then you're reacting from there. And that's how you're living your life. You're basically listening to society's voice to make your decisions, or your ego's voice to make the decisions because you're just trying to protect yourself and you don't want to stand out. You're not very often coming from a soul-led place. This is why I think a lot of people are searching and seeking on how to communicate with their soul, how to truly listen and get messages and wisdom from their soul. I want to give you a quick message before we get back to this episode. Unlock the secrets of your soul for free with Soul Notes. Say goodbye to feeling stuck and hello to the validation of your alignment. These weekly prompts are filled with reminders, gentle nudges, and sometimes a kick in the ass, all with love from your soul. Don't just take our word for it. Try Soul Notes for yourself and see the difference it can make in your life. Trust us, your soul and you will thank you. Just go to soulnote.org. That's SOULNOTE.org. Now back to our podcast.
And they're like trying to communicate with you to tell you, no, take this left here because this is where you want to be, or, take that chance, or, get involved with this person, they're going to, level you up and help you heal and all these different things. But it's like we sit in so many different stages of our lives and asking a great deal of different things. And at the same time, we do not take the time to listen to the answer while they're over there screaming, going, oh, here we go again. They're asking for something, but they're not going to listen.
Mm-hmm. And you're on your 55th podcast in a row, clicking different videos, trying to find the thing that is the answer and the quick fix to change all the stuff that you don't like, or to call in what you want, because it's not happening. A lot of times I find that people get caught up in the self-help, in the spiritual, and it just becomes another loop and another cycle they're in. And this is because they're not truly listening. If you want to hear spirit and you want to hear and connect with your soul, you need to be quiet and listen.
Yeah, and there's a loud sound in stillness, in the silence. And if you really balance yourself to where you can hear it, that's the opportunity that they take to be able to give you all the information that you need.
Yeah, you'll notice this, like if you're in a meeting or, say you're at a party and you're talking to friends or something. They're talking and you're listening, but you're not listening to really understand and figure out what makes them tick and why they're saying what they're saying. You're listening to be like, oh yeah, I've had that happen to me. Oh, I would never want that to happen to me. Ooh, that sucks. All the judgment and the autopilot reel that's going on in your head. So even if spirit or your soul is trying to speak to you at that point, saying you need to talk to more to that person about this, or you need to say this right now to that person, it's going to shift both of you. They can't get through because your internal voice is going ham and they're talking in front of you and you're just not actively participating from a place of someone else is speaking. I need to be open to listen and receive and stay curious.
A real-time example. Okay, I took notes. I'm trying to access them. It's not happening because they're funneling. So here I am. I'm just going to shut this off. Listen. Mm-hmm. So this is how it works. It's real time. You look at what, because this was working perfectly fine a few minutes ago. Now I can't access it. That's them saying, yeah, you don't need that.
Right. And I was driving just before this and I was getting a lot of things. And I'm like, oh, I have to remember that. Oh, I have to write that down as soon as I stop. And I stopped where I needed to, did my errand, came back, and I was like, oh, crap, I can't remember anything they said because it was relevant in that moment. Whatever we're getting now that's coming through us is relevant in this moment. So,
And that's how it works. It's watching for those little things, those little shifts, those little signs, if you will, that tells you, okay, you need to pay attention right now because we're going to give you some information, or we're going to funnel something through you. And the part about that is when they're funneling something through you, your soul, your inner voice, trust it, man. You really have to trust it. Don't get into this. Is that for real? Is that me? Is that this? Of course it's you. It's your soul. It's the part of you that's connecting with you. So, trust it, please.
and the way you trust it is learning more about yourself, really understanding the same way that you're doing that psychoanalyzing thing when you're listening to somebody else. Do that to yourself. Listen to yourself. And this isn't the beat yourself up opportunity. This is like, why am I saying that? Like, I don't even mean that. I don't want that. Why am I giving power and energy to this, having it come out of my mouth when that's not exactly what I want? So you need to take responsibility for what's coming out of your mouth, how often you're being quiet, and how you be quiet. Quiet is like when I got in the car, I wanted to throw a podcast on. I wanted to put the radio on, and I'm like, no, I'm getting ready to podcast when I get home. If I'm going to record, I want to be plugged in. And I did the whole drive just in silence. And boy, the stuff that was just flowing through me. And sometimes you can be like, yeah, whatever, that's just my thoughts. But you know the difference. It feels different. It feels like it hits you. It inspires you. It moves you.
It's like a light turns on it within you. It really does. At least that's what it feels like to me. And I do have to sit in stillness, in the quiet. Like, I'm not in front of a computer or anything like that. And the house needs to be really still because that's when the energy is flowing the best. So that's one way to do it. Go into meditation is another way. Get out in nature is another way. Well, there's a symphony of things that occur when you're walking in nature and it's quiet. I mean, there is a rhythm, there is a song, there's so many different things. The messages are epic. So do things like that. Listen. You can also listen to music. I have a spiritual DJ consistently in my dreams tells me things through music. And sometimes it makes sense. Sometimes it doesn't. I just kind of like, okay, I take it in, and whatever is supposed to unfold, I just wait for it. I don't try to manipulate the answer. That's the other thing. Don't try to manipulate an answer either. So just wait for it. It'll come. Just be aware.
And this quietness that she's talking about, like when you're out in nature or even in the house, this is a quietness. It's a stillness within you. It's when you feel in peace, you feel in love, you feel in joy. If you're looking around at nature, I mean, you have the wind and maybe animals and trees creaking and water moving, but near you. I'm picturing a place that I was recently. So there's a lot of noises, but it's still quiet. So like know that distinction. And also like when I know I was getting information from my soul and from the universe when I was driving, because it wasn't story. It wasn't me going through, oh yeah, that person said that and that means that. It wasn't story. It was just this flow of thoughts about the universe, about my soul, about everyone else's soul and how to plug into that.
Right.
So you'll feel the subtle differences, and spirit won't always. It could be, but it's not often just like a voice, like you hear my voice. So don't be upset if that's not how it's working for you. It can be a sign. It can be the spiritual DJ. It can be repeating numbers on a clock. It can be a complete stranger just says something to you and shifts your day.
It can be in your dreams.
It can be in your dreams, in your meditations. Like there's so many different ways. It can also be built up in anxiety, because a lot of time anxiety builds when you're trying to conform, you're trying to fit in, you're trying to do all the things, and you're not taking space to be still. You're not taking space to truly listen. So things will build up Or if you really feel pulled to do this, but you have to do all these things. So you're busying yourself doing all the things over here. You're going to feel more and more anxiety because that's not aligned with where your soul is showing you over here. So sometimes anxiety, not all the times, please don't think that this means that you don't, need mental health support when you need it or anything like that. But sometimes the anxiety buildup is an energy buildup because you're misaligned. So take a look at that too. It'll feel for me like a tight feeling, like I'm not exactly feeling comfortable in my skin, because when I'm plugged into my soul, everything feels very spacious. There's space for my soul to communicate with me. There's space for the universe to do its job and send in what needs to come in to shift things. And I also find that when I'm in a place when I'm the unfulfilled and the most overwhelmed, me and a lot of clients that we talk to, they look at all the things and point out what has to change and what they need to do different. Notice when you're doing that, again, you're looking externally, and your current moment, how was that created? From the actions and the feelings and the emotional things and all the words that you put out into the energy in the past. So now you're making decisions on something created out of stuff you did in the past. So what are you going to do? You're going to loop through it again. You're going to loop through it again. And then you're like, why is this like Groundhog's Day? I don't like this. I have been meditating and I've been watching the spiritual podcast and I'm doing the things, but my stuff's not shifting. My soul's not speaking to me. I don't think I have one, or it's on strike or whatever. Trust, it is always there. It is always communicating with you. Information is always around you. Support is always accessible to you because you are a powerful, powerful being.
There are little things that they can do to kind of, say, we're here, we've heard you, this is our answer, follow this lead. But if we're not ready, or we're not aware, or we're not paying attention, we're missing that. And until I flipped the energy into indifference was when I was able to allow the information to flow through me without any judgment, without any of my own shit, if you will. So that when you do sit down and say, this is what I'm looking to create in my life, you already know what to look for. Okay? You're going to be paying attention for that weird knock on the door and there's nobody there. For all of a sudden something drops. And what is it? For a song all of a sudden coming on that you've never heard before or haven't heard in years. The messages are all within those things. All of a sudden the sun shining and creates this beautiful thing. What is that symbol? What is that sign? That's how they communicate. But it comes down to you being open and aware and trusting what the messages are.
Right. Because we see a lot of, and I'm guilty of this too. You'll want to share what you got or what happened or what you saw or heard with somebody else and then get their input. And then you apply that meaning onto what you originally thought it was. And then it shifts what you originally thought it was. Sometimes you just might get person in a red dress, period. And you're like, what the heck does that mean? So now you're asking Google, like, what does symbolism of Google of woman in red dress in my dream mean? It could simply mean that they're giving you something and you can just say, thanks, soul, lady in red dress. Got it. Check. Maybe you'll happen to see a lady in a red dress later and you'll get more of a pull and you'll know because they're like, okay, we gave this sign. They were aware of it. They noticed. Here's the next piece of it. If you're stepping into this, or if it's something big, they're not going to often dump everything on you at once, even though they might want to, or you might like, just give it all to me so I understand the complete picture. You'll get it as you're ready, and you'll get it as you prove to yourself that you can trust and you can listen to it. Sometimes it's just simply you've been asking to hear, you've been sitting in silence for a while, and you'll get, the red book. I don't know what I am with red right now, but... the red book, and it doesn't mean you have to go searching for the red book. Maybe you do if you're urged to that, but it might just be like, Again, yes, soul, I heard red book. And they're just testing so that you can build a greater and greater communication with your soul. You can get used to talking to your soul instead of just your inner judge and your inner defender and your inner caregiver and all the characters that you play, all your different archetypes, to get through day-to-day life. You're not used to your soul taking the wheel. So, I mean, you don't just get thrown in like a semi and they're like, okay, you want to drive? Go. Put a giant stone on the gas and good luck to you. They don't want to do that. You're going to crash and burn. You're going to have a breakdown. Mm-hmm. So sometimes there's not a meaning like, oh my God, I have to find the red book because it's going to contain the, my soul purpose. And that's another thing. If you're looking for your soul purpose, please stop looking. Because it's in the looking and the constant searching that you're in resistance, because you already have everything that you need. It's already, all the wisdom is contained within you, within your energy. Mm-hmm. So this looking energy is just a whole thing. If you're a person that commonly says, I need to find purpose, I should have a purpose. What is my soul purpose? I'll tag a video that we just did last week that really dives into that well and tells you why you should not be looking, but what to do instead.
And also be aware that the answers are not going to come quickly. Some might, but also some might take hours, days,
years,
weeks, months, you name it. So one thing that I found helpful is that when I'm deliberately trying to create something, I keep a journal. And whatever happens that day, I try to do it at night so that I can get through the day and really iron out whatever happened. I write it down so that then when finally the message comes through, you have something to go by. Mm-hmm. Something, oh, well, that's what that meant that day. That's what the red dress was about.
Right.
That's what the red book was about. Because you had written it down and you had a little bit of notes to kind of go back on. So I find that to be very helpful, because you just don't know when you're going to receive the message and how. So keeping notes is a good idea.
It is, definitely, because a lot of times it will be illogical. It will be like a riddle.
And I believe that the reason for the riddles are because they can't impose their own into what's yours. And that's kind of the thing. If they need to make it as vague as possible so that you can put your own sauce into it, because it's yours. So they don't want to.
And I find with my soul, why it's a riddle a lot of the times is because it's not so much as the tangible message, because I think we're all looking for like tangible things all the time. It's more of a frequency that like you need an answer. It's like, okay, you need to vibe at this frequency. This is where you're, the person that you want to meet. This is where your tangible things are, is over on this frequency. So I can't just tell you to, adjust a frequency 65.75,000 and you're going to be like, oh, okay, like radio dials. I know how to get myself to that frequency. So they're giving you something that's encoded with that frequency that you need. So if you just receive it and not have to psychoanalyze it, not have to overthink it, just is what it is, write it down, received, accepted, taking that into my being, thank you, and keep moving, because maybe that's all you needed was that slight shift in frequency, and then you'll start making decisions from a slightly different place and stuff will start to change.
Right. For sure.
Yeah. And accepting what is, I think, is a big thing too. I think people get into, we've been indoctrinated with the love and light police all over the place. And so you'll come up with, you're feeling angry or disappointed or frustrated or whatever. And then you're like, oh no, I'm going to love and light that. It's okay because I am of the light. I am love. I am of the light. And you're trying to just hold yourself in that space, which is spiritual bypassing, because if an emotion is present in your body, it means there's some sort of fear or there's some sort of energetic imbalance and misalignment in there. So by bypassing that and just being like, I'm of the light, and you're ignoring that that's going on, it's going to keep having to get bigger, to get attention, to get resolved, to get shifted.
I mean, let's keep in mind that we're human and we're experience that humanity. That's what we're here for, to experience it all. So if you're angry, be angry. But then, you know, get curious as to why. You know, if you're sad, be sad. Get curious as to why. Always get curious when something comes up within you. We're human. It's going to happen. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to say the wrong things. We're going to act inappropriately. That's how we're designed, because we're experiencing certain things that we're here to experience. So honor that, first of all, and then get super curious as to why.
This is also a part of letting go of your personal self, because I think another big miss is a lot of us are trying to take our human 3D walking in this matrix self and trying to make it spiritual. Instead of recognizing, I have my human side, we have loud banging going on in the other room and no one's there. Acknowledge.
See how they speak?
Thank you. Yep, just happens. Where we're trying to take our personal side and make it spiritual instead of acknowledging this is our humanness. This world is not the easiest realm, but I can also spend time in my spiritual side, connecting with my soul, meditating, really tapping into that joy, that infinite possibility, that wisdom that's all around us. There's those two parts of you walking this world. So acknowledging both of them and working on how they can walk and work together instead of trying to change one into the other. We had a client that said something I wanted to read. She said that I found the most confidence in myself, peace within myself, and spiritual growth when I chose to accept all my flaws as all different parts of myself. I used to wish things were different, that I was different, that things were better, and that I was better. But I found after a while it was all useless for my growth and for what I really wanted. So she let go of trying to change her human her into her spiritual her. And instead, her human part of her just embraced the spiritual part of her, right? Because any type of resistance, any type of wishing something to be different, it drops you out of alignment and it separates you from your soul. So it's like somebody's cutting that string between you and your soul. That's what it feels like communication wise. Like you can't get that direct communication, even though it's always still there, it's always still with you, and it's always still emanating all the wisdom that you need. So recognize the different parts of yourself, honor all of them. You can be in all of them at the same time. Respect and love what is instead of railing and resisting against how you think things should be. And that's how you communicate with your soul.
That's it. Be kind.
Peace.
Peace.